to welcome you to the Sportcology Institute training series on what do you watch for when you watch the Olympics. And today, as we wrap up this 10-part series, what do you watch for? What did you watch for when you watched the Olympics? I would like to challenge you to think about what you can do to make a difference in future Olympic Games and how it can impact your performance at everything you do, whether you're an Olympian or not. At the beginning of this series, we said it would be an unprecedented opportunity for anyone interested in growth and understanding how people react under pressure. We said it would be the most emotional games you will ever see, and that it would have the most surprises than any games you have ever seen. These games were a goldmine of opportunity to study people performing under pressure for the world to watch. Coaches, parents, and children, and people who want to study people in performance had a boatload of opportunity on a daily basis. I'm Jungle Jim Hunter, and you're listening to 831 Living Your Best Life podcast, where we inspire participation, communicate precision, and empower performers to podium. And I would like to ask you to tell your friends and relatives and people you work with to go to their favorite podcast provider, junglejimhunter.com or YouTube, and listen to these podcasts by subscribing, downloading, clicking on like, rating, reviewing, and becoming an 831er, somebody who is inspired to live their best life because we've inspired you to live your best life. Well, the 32nd Olympic Games are in the books now, and Canada won more medals than it ever has before in a non-boycotted Olympic Games. And it's 14 days to the 16th Paralympic Games coming up in August. My country, Canada, had a best ever medal outcome in a non-boycotted Games, and this is something we should be very proud of. Think of the commitment it took for these athletes, knowing there is no pile of gold waiting for them when it's over, to stay committed for 4 years and then have the rug pulled out from under them during the pandemic and then have to ramp it all up again 1 year later, with few, if any, meaningful competitions to know where they stood in relation to the rest of the world. This is a valuable lesson here for all of us to pay attention to. Number one, no country fields a full team. There are individual events in team sport events, and you are allowed, if they qualify, to have 4 competitors per individual event. So with 339 events and 4 competitors per event, you could have over 1,300 competitors at the Games. I mention this because we sent 301 athletes, so there's more than 4 times that number of opportunities. If you're inspired, there is lots of opportunity. Second thing we learned about these games is you can come from anywhere. We heard it said by every athlete they had to train alone in a makeshift training way and atmosphere. Some in the basement, some in a garage, some in a shed, some wherever they could find it. There were times when they came together for tune-ups, but the coaches had to be intensely focused and the athletes had to be ready to perform. Give them an applause, for all of our athletes did a great job. I mention this because so often I hear excuses made by people that live in different communities, out-of-the-way places, and in communities where they don't have big-time programs and coaches that say, well, you can't do it coming from here. These athletes trained on their own. You can come from anywhere, and if you have what it takes, the sport governing bodies will find you. In this country, we will find you if you have any talent at all. Support is always there. Number 3, support is there. Canada has done a great job in developing a sport system that gives you the opportunity to reach for your full potential. You can come from any unknown place, but if you are prepared, we have ways of identifying talent and preparing you once you show you can compete on the big stage. From your home through club programs to elite, you will be found. Number 4, teaching materials. We have limited space to record the games and have the chance to go back and watch it again. But if you have saved some, there is so much you can learn from the facial expressions, body language, and words spoken before, during, and after a competition. And in the features and their events, we saw so much emotion expressed that you can learn how an athlete actually is thinking and feeling and what their attitude is. It doesn't matter if you're a coach, athlete, or parent, there's a treasure trove of content in these games. Number 5, role models. The best time to benefit from what our athletes have done is right after the games are over. It's fresh in their minds and in their emotions, and the performance learned is current. Invite these athletes to come to your company and learn from them. Pay them well and ask them if they have debt and help them pay it off. Invite them to come to their hometowns and inspire the next generation of coaches, athletes, and parents. Pay them well and ask them if they have debt and help them pay it off. Invite them to schools, awards banquets, events, and have them rub shoulders with your children. Finally, if you meet an Olympian, have your 10 most important questions ready to ask them. If they are busy and can't answer right away, ask them if you can take them out for breakfast or coffee or lunch or dinner. If you can, offer to pay them what you can afford. If you are really brave, invite them to come to your home for dinner and tell them it's to say thank you for being the best of the best of the best. My dad used to tell me to go to the mountain and find the best skier on the hill and ask if you could ski with him. No one ever told me no. They always said yes and wanted to help me. Dad used to say the best expense each month is to buy the best you can find, a meal or coffee, and be prepared with your first 5 questions. Please don't ask them what it was like to be in the Olympics, and what does this mean to you to be an Olympic medalist, or how does it sound, Olympic champion? These are the questions the media asks, and I'm tired of them, and so are the Olympic athletes. I've never been asked by a media person a question that had anything to do with what it takes to be a champion. You're smarter than that. What have we learned about watching the games? This summary is what I want you to take away. This can be applied to any broadcast, and you can learn how to be the best of the best, whether you want to be an athlete, a performer, a dancer, an artist, whatever it is. In summary, listen and watch for 1, words spoken, 2, body language, 3, emotions expressed, and 4, emotions you felt. Then remember, we have never fielded a full team, so there's lots of room for you. Number 2, you can come from anywhere because our sport governing bodies will find you. Number 3, the support is there if you deserve a shot. Number 4, there is so much teaching material available that it is free that everything you need to know you can find. And number 5, the best role models are those that have done something and take responsibility for their victories and losses. You cannot become a victor if you don't own your losses. In the 60s, as the Olympic Games started to be broadcast on television, Canada formed Sport Canada. And 50 years ago, we started to develop a sport program and pull together a plan. We stumbled at first, but it started with a tour of medalists from the 60s, and it inspired young men and women that started to raise the bar. Out of each Olympic Games, new inspired Olympians played a part in inspiring each successive athlete. We don't do this alone. 831 Canadians helped me, and each of those athletes were helped to raise the bar just like I was. Today, we can set the highest standard of medals achieved because we have grown and developed programs that make it possible for you to stand on the podium. Write our networks and thank them for a great job. Write a sport governing body and thank them and send them a donation. And if you meet an athlete, say thank you and help them if you can. I hope you will have grown and that you will be living your best life the next time we meet. We start a new series after this, so don't miss it. My quote for the day: you are not born alone, and you don't bury yourself alone. So why not build others up on the journey?